Hey everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. Whereas the women's side feels really predictable in the Owen Hart Cup tournament with Jamie Hayter taking on Mercedes Moné, it feels like Mercedes Moné is going to win that match. And I'd be really surprised if they went the other direction. And who knows? Maybe they did. They're bound to surprise, and maybe they're not as predictable as I think they are. Um, but Hangman Adam Page wins. We expected that. We expected that we were going to get, when these brackets came out, that it was going to be Hangman and Will Ospreay. To me, this is a fascinating championship, because if you guys remember last year, we had the same kind of debate with, is it Bryan Danielson, is it Hangman Adam Page? And AEW, as we have seen with now what morphed into the Death Rider storyline, they made the wrong decision. As much as I love Bryan Danielson, as much as I thought that that was a great moment for him to get a championship in front of his kids, and so listen, I still think the Miracle on Bourbon Street at WrestleMania 30 is still one of the greatest wrestling moments, and I think the greatest wrestling moment of his career. He says it's all in London last year when he won the championship over Swerve Strickland, and I understand why. He got to win it in front of his wife and his kids. That's amazing. That's really amazing. But what's happened after that led to the Death Riders, and Jon Moxley has been running roughshod over this company ever since. Now, here we are almost a year later, Owen Hart Cup tournament. Granted, it was later. They did it later. But the Owen Hart Cup tournament, it is Will Ospreay versus Hangman Adam Page. And I will pose this to you guys in my comments. You can answer it in the comments as well. I really don't know which way this can go. Like, both ways feel like a logical option. Will Ospreay has been positioned in the last year as really like the top guy, the top face in the company, even though a lot of people are critical of his wrestling style and he doesn't no sell. One thing I love about Will Ospreay, and some people, he's not for everybody. I get it, but he is so spectacular in the ring. And even on the microphone, even though sometimes people are like, hey, to me, it feels authentic with him. It feels authentic. Like, he loves this. He loves being in front of the fans. He feels genuinely grateful to be in the position that he is in. And that's why I really enjoy watching Will Ospreay. Even if he's not the greatest promo, it to me, it doesn't come across as like, him reading lines off of the teleprompter. It doesn't come across as phony. Like, he feels authentic. And then there's Hangman Adam Page, who to me is not only just the best character in AEW. To me, he may be the single greatest character in all of professional wrestling. This guy's arc since 2019 has been one of the most fascinating things that this company has done. And for whatever reason, maybe he is getting blamed for a lot of the shit that happened with CM Punk, because his, going off script is what really opened the floodgates to CM Punk ultimately getting into the brawl out and then ultimately getting fired from the company. For 3 years, we have been waiting for Hangman Adam Page to get chased. And then all of a sudden, 2 years ago, he gets blessed with maybe the greatest storyline that AEW has ever done with Swerve Strickland. And it led to the point where he had to turn heel because the people chose Swerve over him. And it's led to this amazing metamorphosis to him being a deranged maniac. And now he's seemingly going back to this anti-hero, or kind of this badass, to the point where you still love Hangman Adam Page. So I have no fucking idea who's winning this match. Like, this is a really fascinating, unpredictable final in Phoenix coming up over Memorial Day weekend. This is a fascinating match. I can't wait to see what happens. Because it's become very clear that Jon Moxley is going to be the world championship come all in Texas. I'm sorry, Samoa Joe, you're not winning. I love you to death, brother, but you're not winning the championship. They've positioned this to the point. And listen, on some level, I'm glad that Darby Allin's not a part of this picture. As much as they wanted to groom him as being the guy, Darby Allin's got other interests in his life, and he went away from the storyline. To me, gun to my head right now, because I've had a lot of chances to think about this, and I've said this on separate videos, and I've even said it in this video. I love Will Ospreay. I think he'd be a great choice. To me, there's really no wrong choice here. And I don't think there was any real wrong choice last year until we saw what the payoff was. And the payoff was we got the Death Riders out of that Bryan Danielson win. We should have gotten Hangman and Swerve last year. To me, you've got to give this win to Hangman. At this point, it's got to be Hangman Adam Page versus Jon Moxley for the World Heavyweight title at all in Texas. It just makes a ton of sense. It's in a state, Texas is a cowboy state. Like, it makes way too much sense. As much as I love Will Ospreay, the fact that this, I think what tilts this is going to be, you guys are going to snicker at me and be like, what the fuck is he talking about? The fact that this is in Texas and not in London this year, I think is what tips it over the edge to Hangman. Also, based off what happened last year, I don't know where that leaves Will Ospreay and what he's going to do this year, because Kenny Omega is occupied with Okada. We already know what that's going to be like. Adam Cole's the TNT champion. He's seemingly found himself again, which is very cool. I've always been an Adam Cole fan, and it's unfortunate what's happened to him. I don't think they'll go that route. So the choice that they make, much like last year, is going to dictate, where this company goes moving forward, because you have a really good and easy choice with Will Ospreay, who you've been positioning as one of the faces of the company in fighting the Death Riders. That's an option. And then Hangman, who's literally been who's been your number one character, no matter how you felt about him. And like, maybe there's some personal animosity here still because of the CM Punk shit, but how this gets sorted out is going to be a really fascinating, and how they tell this on television and give us a good story to feed into whatever this is going to lead into. And then, hey, maybe it's going to ultimately lead into, hey, Hangman gets screwed. And he ends up having to fight the Young Bucks in next to Swerve. I think the Swerve Hangman thing, even though they've been building it up, it doesn't need to be at this point. I think we need to crown Hangman as the world champion, as much as I love Will Ospreay, because I think one of the biggest parts of this that just makes way too much sense for me is, like I said, the fact that this is not a London show like it has been the last 2 years. There's no reason to force Will Ospreay being your crowned guy in Texas, of all places. As much as everybody loves that guy, his time will come. To me, the story that they've been trying to tell, and what has been, and what's been one of the most consistent things that's been playing out on television in a show that really doesn't have a ton of stories, is the fact that Hangman is probably the best character, not just in this company, but in all of professional wrestling. I freaking love everything that this guy does. He's just tremendous. His expressions, the way he wrestles, the way he talks, everything about him. And it took that, we kind of lost sight of him 2 years ago, but it took that Swerve Strickland feud, reignited the fire, and we've now fully realized in the last 2 years how fucking great this guy is. And for that reason, I think Hangman should win this match. Get at me in the comments if you disagree with me. Like, share, subscribe, whatever. To me, this is going to be one of the more fascinating developments over the next month or so, not just in AEW, in all of professional wrestling, because, again, like I said, we had this same exact argument a year ago when it came to Bryan Danielson versus, Hangman. And now they've got the decision right in their face. Who's going to dethrone the Death Riders? And really, I think this is going to dictate a lot of where this company goes moving forward. To me, I think the choice is Hangman. Whether you guys agree with me or not, let me know in the comments. Let me know. I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, this is one of those things where, I'm really critical of AEW in terms of their lack of unpredictability. This thing right here, I have no clue how this is going to go. It's going to be fascinating to watch. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.